Greetings, this is Mary Jane Hayden, and today I'm going to tell you about the changes we made to FDM 201, which is the chapter on design controls. The first change is in Table 201.3.2, which is our table for arterial access classifications and standards. As you can see here on the screen, the red underlined text indicates an addition that was made. The new notes in the bottom of the table are simply clarifications of criteria that's already in place. Note 3 was added to state that the speeds listed in the table are referring to posted speeds. This applies to what's shown in the table itself and also what's included in the notes. Since many of the tables in the FDM are based on design speed, we wanted to make it clear here that these speeds are in fact posted speeds. And the reason for using posted speeds within this table is so that we remain consistent with the Florida Administrative Code Rule 1497, which is based on posted speed. You'll also notice that we've added notes regarding connection spacing near interchange ramps. This reflects what's in Rule 1497. The addition of these notes was not prompted by a change in the rule, but rather resulted from our efforts in developing the driveway chapter, FDM 214. While we were researching the driveways chapter, we reviewed 1497 and realized that this subtlety was not explicitly stated anywhere in the FDM. So we added it here to call attention to a rule that's been in place for quite some time. The next change I want to tell you about is a relocation of one of our modifications for non-conventional projects boxes, or what we call blue boxes. It was brought to our attention that this blue box probably shouldn't completely delete the section on design speed and refer to the RFP. There's relevant information within these sections that doesn't necessarily need to be deleted for non-conventional projects. So instead, the blue box was suggested to be more appropriately placed within the section on design speed selection, with a reference to the RFP for project-specific design speed. So we thought that was a good suggestion, and you'll see that change reflected in the 2019 FDM. Another new addition to the section on design speed is the text you see here. We added this text to help remind our readers that we've introduced a new term, very low speed. This is a Florida-specific term, and it's a subset of low speed. So if you have a design speed of 35 miles per hour, it's still considered low speed, but it's also considered very low speed. The difference is subtle, and the places you may find this distinction are fairly limited, at least for right now. Here in Chapter 210, you'll see this term in the lane width table down in the notes. You'll also find it within the new speed management chapter, which is FDM 202. So the reason why this term is important, though, is because it gives us a way to easily discuss our more urban context classifications. It gets us used to thinking about speeds of 35 miles per hour and less, and what that type of facility should look like. Context classifications C2T through C6 include very low speeds within their allowable design speed ranges. In fact, C5 and C6 have design speed ranges that only consist of very low speeds. So in the same manner that we've become accustomed to talking about high speed and low speed and immediately knowing what types of roadway features we could expect to find on those roads, we're trying to accomplish that same goal with very low speed. Now, sticking to the subject of design speed, let's talk about the next change in Chapter 201. Last year we realized there was confusing direction on ramp design speeds. The bulleted list in FDM 201.4.1.1 says the minimum design speed for direct connection ramps is 50 miles per hour. However, the express lane section tells us that the design speed for a ramp between two express lanes or between an express lane and a high-speed facility, so in other words, direct connection ramps, is typically 60 miles per hour, but not less than 40 miles per hour. So the intent of the bulleted list was to simply provide ramp minimum design speeds, regardless of whether or not they were for express lanes. Meanwhile, the intent of the express lanes section, FDM 201.4.1.3, was to tell the designer to provide as high of a design speed for express lanes direct connection ramps as possible, with 60 miles per hour being a target, and also that a design variation for anything proposed less than 40 miles per hour would not be approved. So the intent of the two sections do not conflict with each other, but they also did not clearly say that. So to fix this confusion, we consolidated the information into a new table for minimum ramp design speeds, Table 201.4.2. As you can see here, We maintain the minimum design speed for direct connection ramps as 50 miles per hour. Then, to keep the language that was in the text of the express lane section and to clarify our intent, we added the notes to this table. Again, they're specific to express lane direct connections, and we want you to use a design speed of 60 miles per hour when possible, and to never go below 40 miles per hour. The final section I want to talk to you about today is FDM 201.4.3, which is the section on design speed for 3R projects. So if we recall the language that was in Chapter 25 of the PPM for design speed in 3R projects, it was pretty clear. When we converted the 3R information into the 2018 FDM, we looked at this section like we did everything else and evaluated what language was actually necessary to move into the FDM, and then simplified wherever we could. We may have gone a little far with simplifying this language, and so we brought some of it back in the 2019 FDM. So you see here the table from the PPM that shows what to do when you have a design speed that's different from a posted speed. We didn't carry the table forward into the FDM. And so for cases 1 and 2, they're pretty straightforward, and we haven't received any questions about how to handle this in the FDM. However, case 3 is where you have a posted speed that is above the original design speed of the road. This would be a situation where the road was designed and constructed to a design speed, let's say 45 miles per hour. And then after construction was completed, a speed study was done on that road, which resulted in raising the posted speed to, say, 50 miles per hour. So now we have a case 3 situation where the posted speed exceeds the original design speed. So this is the case we needed to move into the 2019 FDM. So in adding this language back into the FDM, we didn't change the criteria. It's just presented differently. We've added a list of how to treat roadways in 3R projects that have a higher posted speed than design speed. Item 1 says to process a design variation or exception for each element that does not meet criteria for the higher posted speed. This is something that should have been done at the time of the post-construction speed study that resulted in the increased posted speed. While you should check each design element to make sure it meets the criteria of the higher posted speed, the previously processed and approved exceptions or variations are also a good place to start. Item 2 tells us to use the criteria based on the posted speed for any new highway feature or when correcting a feature that has a significant crash history. And item 3 tells us that when we're replacing highway features, we need to use the criteria based on the posted speed to the greatest extent possible, but to not go lower than the original design speed of the road. There's also language that we added for clarification. This paragraph reminds us that the typical section package needs to include the design speed used in the original design of the road, along with the current posted speed. Additionally, the design exceptions or variations that are necessary will also need to be shown. For additional information on the typical section package, I'll refer you to FDM 120. And finally, the last paragraph shown here is something new that we realized was necessary now that we've introduced context classifications. As the district planning offices have gone through and assigned context classifications to each of our state roads, it's become apparent that some roads are actually classified in a context that has a design speed range outside of the current posted speed. So as an example, we've seen instances of roads with a posted speed limit of 50 miles per hour, but is classified as a C4 context classification, which has a design speed range of 30 to 45 miles per hour. So what do we do in this situation? Well, for a 3R project, our intent is not to require design variation of this situation just because we've introduced context classifications. However, we do acknowledge that this may be an indication of a transitional area or perhaps a special district that we should look at differently. Maybe this is an area that has seen substantial growth in the past decade, and what was originally considered a suburban area has now transitioned into more of an urban general area. So, context surrounding the road has changed from a C3 to a C4 over time. For a resurfacing project, we don't expect you to turn this into a reconstruction project to reduce lanes or add curbing just to match the context classification. However, there are tools available in our new chapter on speed management that can help. FDM 202 includes strategies such as chicanes, horizontal deflection, and speed feedback signs, among several other tools that could be used on a 3R project to achieve a lower operating speed. This concludes the webinar on the 2019 updates to FDM 201. Thank you for listening.